is I hold no spiritual office. In fact, I've successfully evaded 2 ordinations. Yeah? Lots of people assume I'm some pastor or someone who's been ordained or someone who carries some spiritual office. No. I hold no spiritual office. Now, why that is important, you'll see as we go along. The second caveat is that I'll be sharing insights from lessons I've learned in the trenches. What do I mean by the trenches? I mean the places where things get nasty and ugly. The places where things are not working. The places where things don't go according to plan. You see, the interesting thing about people like me is that a lot of the time, what comes my way is what ministers are uncomfortable to deal with, or the kind of issues and topics that ministers would have challenges dealing with. And oftentimes, these are messy issues. But one thing I've found out is that working and operating in the trenches is one of the best classrooms you can ever have. Because there are things I learn in the trenches, honestly, that I won't learn anywhere else. And I come to my next caveat. I like to say that everything I know, somebody or something taught me. I'm saying this because of the nature of the topic we're going to look at this evening. Now, most people are sent my way, or most people come my way around this topic to do with issues of finance, because that's my training. But as we begin to talk about finance, we end up in a lot of other areas. And sometimes by the time we're done, I find myself talking about things that I often have to go research, find out more information, sometimes talk to other mentors of mine in order to come back and help people. So the course of helping people is what has taught me a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight. You will be interested to find out that a lot of what I learn from actually results from helping people solve issues and problems that then equip me to share that knowledge with other people. We'll see why that is important as we go along as well. And most importantly as well, I will anonymize information. I know there's a very high likelihood that some people listening to me this evening would have encountered me in this area we're going to discuss. But I will anonymize information. So any similarity is purely coincidental. And last but not the least, I don't intend any offense. But there are things you're going to hear this evening that you may not like. Given the nature of the topic we're going to discuss, there are things you're going to hear this evening that you may not like. Am I okay? Shall we begin? No. Next slide. So, built to last. What are we talking about this evening? We're talking about marriage. I'm sure nobody expected marriage to be on the agenda. We're built to last. And then the man is talking about marriage. Where is marriage coming from? We're building to last. Why is the man talking about marriage? And what has Uncle Finance Cardinal Controversial got to do with marriage? He's a troublemaker that we push other way. What has he got to do about marriage? And what even qualifies him to talk about marriage? The caveats I started with. I spend a lot of time providing financial counseling to couples. A lot of time, prospective couples, existing couples, they are sent my way for me to counsel them about finances, how to manage finance and all this, blah, blah. We start from finance. By the time we're done, we're talking about so many other things. And a lot of the time, the conversation goes into areas that I sometimes have to pause sessions, go and find information, come back in order to help people. When I was preparing for this seminar, this topic of marriage was just pressing on my mind. pressing on my heart. And I kept thinking, why should I even go and talk? I mean, who am I? Am I even qualified to talk about this? And the biggest problem I have is that if I want to talk about marriage, I'm going to have to come from the trenches I operate in. Now, who wants to hear about the trenches? Like, when we talk about marriage, we want to hear people in love and all nice and sweet things and white gowns and nice suits. That's what we want to hear. Who wants Mr. Controversial talking about marriage? Like, hello. But the more I fought it, the more it persisted. So I decided, if that is what the Lord wants for his people, that is what I'm going to do. So this evening, we're going to talk about marriage. Built to last, but we're going to talk about marriage. Now, is there a connection? Can I have the next slide, please? Why is marriage relevant when we're talking about building to last? Because yesterday we spoke about how important stability is when we're building to last. Now, I tell you this thing. Marriage as it stands is the most stabilizing or destabilizing, depending on which side of the fence you're on, relationship that most of us are going to willingly or unwillingly enter. What do I mean by this long, complex statement? The impact marriage has on people's lives is either very constructive or very destructive. It is seldom in the middle. And in most cases, people willingly go into it. But believe it or not, arranged marriages still exist. Marriage spreads across a wide range of cultures. And counseling people, helping people to manage marital finances, takes me into all kinds of audiences. I talk to Sikhs, I talk to Muslims, I talk to atheists, all range of people. There are certain people I deal with sometimes. And the funny thing is sometimes you're walking along the street somewhere and they go, "Hi, Cardinal." And you're walking with your workmates and they think, who's the Cardinal? Because to them you are, you have no business. Even looking at some Asian person waving across the street at you, like, how do you get to know them? But I did tell you that a lot of what ends up in front of me is what ministers are uncomfortable dealing with. Is what a lot of people are uncomfortable dealing with. But at the same time, by the time they get to me, it's a critical situation. If you thought I was controversial before, by the time we're done, your opinion of me will be worse. I did say yesterday that if you didn't chase me out of here with stones and sticks, you're never going to chase me out of here. We'll see as we go along. Marriage gives the opportunity to build a stable life. You see, when you're planning things like children, buying property, long-term planning, marriage creates a stable platform within which you can do that. By the same token, it can be the converse. We'll see more as we go along. Marriage clarifies commitment. You see, if somebody is a partner, it is different from somebody being a husband or somebody being a wife. There's so many formations of relationships these days, yeah? We have situationships, we have friends with benefits, we have people who are partners, we have, you run out of examples. Marriage, however, is distinct in that the commitment is clear. These two people are committed to each other. That is what they mean when they say they want to get married, or when they say they are married. There's a legal and financial structure that marriage brings into the picture. See, there's the beautiful emotional side of this marriage business, yeah? I remember when we were younger, we used to read these fairy tales or these stories, and they say they lived happily ever after. Everyone remember that? Yeah? And when you read these romance books, in my days it was Mills and Boone, then it became Harlequin romance and whatever. These days I don't know what you young people watch on your screens. But there's this thing about it. When it comes into force, however, it carries with it legal connotations. You then begin to have issues, for instance, with shared assets and liabilities. There's people who've gone into marriages. The marriages have broken up, and they've ended up with a lot of debt that was actually incurred by their partner. In some cases, they had no idea the partner was going into that debt. But once you are married, the legal comes into play. There are people who have found themselves facing serious court cases because they are considered jointly and severally liable because somewhere along the line they decided to marry somebody. There are people who have issues with inheritance. They thought the situation was clear, self-explanatory. And then something happens. I'll give an example. There was a couple I was dealing with. The daughter was very angry with her father. The father had died. She was so angry, she didn't want to have anything to do with the father's funeral. What had the father done? This girl was an only child of her father and her mother. Her father and mother worked together. They came in from a country, a West African country. They came into the system. They worked together. They were married for 25 years. They worked together. They acquired a home. They paid off the mortgage on the home. They worked together. They put some money into joint pension that they later moved into a set of investments. Unfortunately, the mother passed away. The mother died. The mother died. The father decided to remarry. The father remarried, and then the father died without leaving a will. This girl then found out that because the father had remarried, his current wife was his next of kin. So that house in which she grew up, that inheritance that had been promised, that she knew was coming her way, was suddenly somebody else's because her father had decided to remarry. Am I scaring somebody this evening? Am I scaring somebody this evening? We'll get there soon. It's not all bad. There's some tax benefits to marriage. You know, you get tax discounts and co. And also there's this decision-making in emergency situation. And this is where it sometimes gets so complex. A couple of years ago, I lost a dear friend. Now that friend had been in a marriage, a very troublesome marriage. And he had started a divorce process. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on which side of the fence you're on, he passed away before he could complete this process. So because on paper he was still legally married, this woman who had become like an enemy to him suddenly had the position of the official next of kin. So before any decisions could be made, this woman had to be consulted. His own brothers, his own sisters, their voices became insignificant. We're building to last. One thing that can derail that process is who we decide to marry and what happens as a result of that marriage. Am I scaring anybody yet? We'll get there. Now, there's a social and cultural status that marriage, marriage carries weight. Used to be that someone's status as a married person changes the way they were viewed in society. If you're a young guy walking around, they thought you were reckless and irresponsible until you got married. I recall those days when there were certain roles in certain organizations they wouldn't give to you unless you're a married man, because they thought that once you became married, your thinking changed. You suddenly were more responsible. You were less likely to take certain risks and do certain crazy, mad things because suddenly you're married. Same with our sisters. They get married and the whole society treats you differently. Once some man comes and does a little ceremony and you're suddenly a missus, the whole society treats you differently. It's very funny where you see some of our sisters getting married when we're younger, and from the moment they get married, even when they're walking, the way they swing the left hand is different, and sometimes they give you the hello, the whole thing, because the status has changed. You see, the level is different, because now they're married. Yeah? Finally, marriage gives perspective to a lot of issues. When two people, having gone through that process of marriage, their attitude and commitment to solving problems is very different from when they've actually gone through that process. The quarrel that will break up a partnership or a living together arrangement will not break up a marriage. Because when it comes to marriage, we have to think more deeply. We have to think more seriously. We're more committed now, aren't we? It changes our perspective. So sometimes the issue will be difficult. But some people look at the process of breaking up the marriage and they think, actually, it's a lesser evil to attempt to solve the problem or even live with it just because we've gone through marriage. So when we're talking about building to last, and most importantly, when we're talking about building our lives in such a way that our legacies will last, that what we leave behind will be stable. We spoke about stability yesterday. Marriage is a relationship we cannot ignore. Because interestingly, particularly among Christians and a lot of the religious people I deal with, marriage is a necessity. They want to be married. I mean, that's the stage, isn't it? I mean, you're born, you get educated, you start working, you get married, produce children, children grow, also get married. That's it, Abby. That's the way we're taught. The whole thing. We didn't even think, we took it for granted. And so you get to some age and you don't seem to have followed those steps, and they begin asking you, when are you going to get married? Like, when are you going to? They start poking you and asking you all these questions. The family people start pushing in that way. Let's go further down and see if this is all it is cut out to be. Can I have the next slide, please? So what is a marriage? What is a marriage? There are several definitions of marriage. If you ask the church will give you its definition of marriage. If you ask a lawyer, the lawyer will give you their definition of marriage. If you ask an imam, they've got different definitions of marriage. However, if you ask me to define marriage from what I've seen in the trenches, this is the definition I'll give you. A marriage occurs when two strangers enter into a risky union with customary and legal implications, which they assume will last the rest of their lifetimes. I'll take it again. A marriage occurs when two strangers, please note the words I have underlined, two strangers enter into a risky union with customary and legal implications, which they assume will last the rest of their lifetimes. Why have I got those words underlined? Let's start with the first word. I said two strangers. My people, I can't begin to tell you how many times people have come to me. They've already spoken to their pastor, and the pastor has given them the blessing to go ahead and get married. They've selected a date. They've done arrangements, whatever, yeah? And you know the funny thing, yeah? Because I'm finance, I tend to be left to the very end. Yeah? Sometimes a week or so to the date is when they decide, oh, let's go and talk to that man. They say he teach us. Let's go and talk to that man, that trouble man. Let's go and talk to that man. By the time we're done talking finance, those two people sat in front of me. Or these days, those two people on the Zoom camera. I do a lot of it by Zoom now. But by the time we're done talking finance, those two people realize they don't know anything about each other. They are complete strangers. Yet at that stage, they have a date set. They have plans made. Sometimes they sent out invites. And yet they're sitting in front of you. And you realize they don't know anything about each other. Oh, they think they know each other. Yeah? They think they know each other. Because they've gone out on dates. And they've gone on holiday together. And on a few occasions when no one is looking, they've done the thing small. So they think they know each other. You sit them down. You begin to talk to them. And you realize these people are strangers. One of my pastor friends in London, and it's interesting, he didn't tell me this. I found this out from a couple he sent to me. The couple came and they said, oh, when pastor was sending us to you, he said, as for this man, when you go to him, expect anything. So they were curious, like, they first met Uncle Ray. Uncle Ray was a nice guy. Uncle Ray looked nice. Until they began to talk to Uncle Ray, until Uncle Ray began to fire the questions. And then the woman said, no wonder pastor said we should expect anything from you. I said, oh, is that what he said? He said, yes. He said, as for this man, when you go to him, you should expect anything. I said, my sister, my daughter, the problem is not me. The problem is you not having the answers to these questions before you come here. Because when you come here, I will grill you. So when your pastor told you to expect anything, it is because he knows what previous couples have gone through. That is why he told you to expect anything. Because when you come here, I will grill you. I'm not saying you are not a match for each other. I'm saying go and do your homework. Come back. Because several times at the point of marriage, at the start of marriage, those two people you see, they are strangers. They don't know each other. As we go along, you will see why I describe prospective couples as strangers. But then I underline the second word, risky. What makes it risky? You see, I've listed risk factors on the slide. First, I talk about culture, the undercurrents of culture. What you come to realize is that people are shaped by their culture. I don't care where you met them. You could have met them in a university hall. They could be holding PhDs. I don't care where you met them. When it comes to the crunch, that culture will emerge. That culture, that shapes his thinking. That shapes his idea about gender roles. That shapes her thinking. That shapes her idea about what a home is supposed to be and what a home is supposed to contain. That culture will emerge. And it gets worse when migration comes into the picture. Because then you have two people who have grown up often in separate cultures, living in a country that has no respect for culture. How many times don't we hear marriages that held strong in countries of origin for 10, 12, 15 years? They come over to the West. Within 3 years, they are divorced. What changed? That marriage was working fine in the country of origin. What changed? Culture. I ask a question to couples that sometimes has them, one lady broke into tears. I asked her, my sister, do you understand what widowhood rights happen in this man's culture? This man you want to marry. Do you understand what widowhood rights happen? Why are you asking such a question at such a time? I said, my sister, statistics will show you that 85% of the time, the men in the couple die first. That's a sobering fact. 85% of the time. Am I lying? You're worried? Yeah, you should be. No, you should be. 85% of the time is the men that go first. And the women are left as widows. And that is when certain cultures begin to emerge. This girl was marrying a man, or planning to marry a man, in whose culture part of the widowhood right involves locking you in a room and starving you for 7 days. You come out of that room for 7 days, they say you have to feel the pain of your husband's passing. Somebody will chew alligator pepper and spit it in your eyes. Those are the kind of rights. You haven't heard of these rights? You could have married a PhD. You could have married a doctor. Woe betide you if he departs and he comes from a culture that is punitive to widows. When people go into marriage, they don't think about these things, do they? You see, they assume it is going to last for the rest of their lives. There's some harsh realities. You need to check and double check. You come from certain cultures. You see certain cultures where a man, if he happens to pass away, his brother is supposed to inherit the wife. So the wife then becomes the brother's wife, and the children becomes the brother's so-called responsibility. And you look at the track history of that tribe, and you realize that the widows are treated poorly. Widows actually end up destitute. And then you come and sit in front of me. You tell me you want to marry this man, and I ask you, if you were to become a widow in 5 years, do you know exactly what that's going to imply? And they said, oh, by God's grace, we will make it to long life. I say, I'll take you to the nearest graveyard, and you tell me how many of those people were not hoping to live long by God's grace. You think you are different? Think again. Second area of risk, legal. I gave you the example about what remarrying late in life with assets did to a couple I had to deal with. Look, people get married in the belief that who they are marrying has their interest at heart. And so they make commitments, they make sacrifices, they make investments. Only to find out, in some cases, that whilst they were investing, their partner was playing another game. They say, oh, Uncle Ray, I'm going to divorce this man. I'm going to divorce this woman. And then they go to talk to the lawyers. You see, a lot of them assume that divorce is some nice, simple, straightforward thing. Yeah? Sometimes it is. If it's uncontested. You can go online, yeah, and within 4 weeks you divorce someone. You start the process online. Sometimes you don't even see the judge. Yeah? It's online. Bing, 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 bing. Within 4 weeks you're done. Okay? What if that divorce is contested? What if there are assets to be split and one party decides to bring in lawyers into the picture? You hear men telling you that she cheated on me, and when I tried to divorce her, she walked away with 75% of my assets. Nothing worries me more than a lot of the young men I talk to today. They have no interest in marriage. None. Zero. Zilch. You see these new things that are coming up. The partnerships, the situation. Where do you think they're coming from? People want the benefits of marriage without the commitment that comes with it. That's where they're coming from. Why are people avoiding the commitment of marriage? Because of the legal implications they see. I've advised several. Last week, a lady was on the phone to me. She said, Uncle Ray, this house we're in, it's a 6-bedroom house. It's worth 1.2 million pounds sterling. My husband and I, we worked together to acquire this house. We worked together to clear the mortgage on it. I want some guidance. I want to set things up in such a way that should my son get married, even if the woman chooses to divorce him, the woman should not have a hold on this house. Parents today are trying to protect their children before the children even get married. I wish I was joking. I'm not. It's a serious business. This woman started by trying to discourage her son from getting married. But the son was just so determined to marry this woman. So when the son decided he was going to go ahead to marry the woman, she decided, he's so stupid, he's so in love, let me protect him for himself. So she came and she was asking for advice on how to secure the assets. You know the funny thing? A lot of the time, these arrangements are kept within the family. You, the marrying spouse, have no idea. So if you are marrying this guy thinking you want to divorce him and take his house, someone with foresight has protected the asset. You remember we spoke about foresight yesterday, and I said we'll touch on it today? Before you go into this institution, what you need is legal foresight. You've got to understand what it is you're letting yourself in for. We talk about trauma. Let me boost my what do you call it? Bishop, what's this thing supposed to do? It boosts my intestinal bacteria, whatever. My gut. Trauma. A lot of people I come across, they come from homes, from families, where they witnessed their parents go through traumas. And they come determined not to suffer the same trauma. She'll tell you, I saw my dad beat my mom. So as for me, I have gone to learn kick fighting. If a man dares touch me, she'll tell you, I saw my dad cheat on my mom. As for me, if a man so much as tries cheating on me, what will happen to him? He will tell you, I saw my mom disrespect my dad. As for me, I will not tolerate any disrespect. I saw my mom undermine my dad. As for me, I will not tolerate any undermining. People come to marriage having made provision for their trauma. In the past, when marriage was a case of people walking hand in hand like that to the altar, today, if you can see them properly, you see that even as they are walking, mentally, both of them, they are like that. You see them at the altar. But if you're involved in their counseling, if you spoke to them one-on-one, you see that these two people, people carry trauma, the memories of trauma, into marriages. And they think they know each other. Perceptions. My Gen Z folk, they spend hours and hours on social media. You see, I find it so scary. Literally, all you need, get a chair, and then you get one of these circle light things. You see that thing with the circle light? And then the phone is sitting in the middle of it, yeah? So you get that circle light, and you put the phone in the middle, and you mount a tripod, and you sit behind it. Say any nonsense and put it on YouTube. Somebody follow you. True or false? My Gen Z posse. True or false? The amount of poison that is being pushed out on social media in the name of marital advice. You look at some of them and you're thinking, what's wrong with these people? The perception young people have today, shaped by these podcasts and shortcasts and God knows whatever casts. They come to you, they say they are about to get married, they want to get married. You ask them a couple of questions and you ask yourself, where did you get this idea from? Oh, so-and-so person, she has 1.5 million followers on Facebook and she put it on Facebook, so she must be right. Hello? You think this is going to work for you? You think this is what this game is about? Our children coming to this marital equation, they are coming with all kinds of ideas, all kinds of perceptions, all kinds of unrealistic permutations that you don't even know where they got from. And they all want to live happily ever after. Do you understand my definition of marriage now? You see why I defined it that way? The biggest risk factor, I told you today is going to be controversial, but I tell you the biggest risk factor today in marriages is the influence of the church. That for me is the biggest risk factor. Everywhere from pairing people, everywhere from prophesying people into all kinds of unions, making all kinds of declarations, wanting to take authority of an institution that had nothing to do with the church in the first place. It's just so scary. The church wants the authority over marriage. Yeah? We have to marry you. Unless you are married in this church, you can no longer continue to be a member of this church. If you go and have your wedding in a court, you still have to come to church for the pastor to bless you, because unless the pastor blesses you, the church will not recognize your marriage. And they want to take this authority over the institution. And yet when the problems come, they turn around as if they can't see you. A number of times, when younger couples have come to me, I've asked them, do you have a video of your wedding? Do you happen to have a video of your wedding? And a lot of the time, they'll find the video and bring the video. You will see the pastor who married them. You ask them, did you guys go back and talk to him? They say, oh, he said we should go and talk to this other person. He said we should go and talk to that person. You will see in the course of the wedding, somebody will get up and begin to declare things and prophesy and hallelujah things and great things and speak all kinds of tongues. And you asking, what happened to that prophecy if you two idiots are in front of me right now? Where's that prophet? Why are you guys here? What's happened to that prophecy? Why are you guys here? The church wants the authority. But when the problems arise, they'll say, oh, we Oh, I'm a pastor, so I can't advocate divorce. No, I'm a pastor, so I can't break marriages up. It says, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. So I can put together, but I cannot put asunder. So if you really want to divorce, maybe they want to go and talk to his Uncle Ray. Maybe you have to go and talk to Uncle Ray. I told you I work in the trenches. And this is where they come. Because they know I will tell them things that they as pastors cannot say. But this is where they end up. And sometimes you are bothered, you are tempted to ask them, I didn't put you together. So if you want to be asunder, why have you come to me? Go back to the one who put you together. Let him put you asunder. Isn't that a fair deal? Why he put you together? Abi? But you know the funny thing? When they, the leaders of the church, are having problems in their own marriages, they will divorce. I challenge anyone in this room to tell me they haven't come across a prominent minister, a prominent pastor, a prominent leader of a church who's gone through divorce. I challenge anyone in this room. Some of them have been divorced more than once. When it suits them, they'll divorce. When it comes to you, they tell you to stay there because God has put you together. As if the God that put them together is different from the God that put you together. And you see them asking people to endure abuse in the name of faith. I get angry when I hear some of these testimonies. You see some woman who come and say, oh, I was married to my husband, and for the first 20 years of our marriage, he was chasing women. He was being abusive. He would beat me. He would do this. But I held on to my faith. I say, Father, blah, blah, blah. And they will speak tongues, and they will do this thing. And say, now, in my 25th year of marriage, the man has changed so much. Even now, he's here with me in the church. And I say this to the glory of God. I tell them, my sister, you are deceiving yourself. The fact he's here after 25 years is because nobody else wants him. If somebody wanted him, he'd be gone. He's only with you after 20. Nobody else wants him. If somebody wanted him, he'd be long gone. And they bring these things as testimonies to church. And our young girls hear these things, and they think there's something heroic or spiritual or good in enduring abuse in the name of faith. My daughters, let me tell you this, pure and plain. Abuse has no place in marriage. You get married to someone who's abusive to you, come and see me. We'll sort it out. Come and see me. We'll sort it out. Sometimes you ask the pastors themselves, would you want your daughter being treated like this? You ask them those questions. And then they tell you don't respect. But it is not a lie. It's a genuine question. Would you want your daughter being treated like this? You then begin to see this bizarre situation. I mean, when back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the church was teaching about significance and security when it came to marriage. They say men want significance, women want security. So women should make the men feel significant, the men should make the women feel secure. And now when you are listening to them now, these things that parade themselves as churches, and these people that parade themselves as church counselors, now they are talking about provision and submission. The man is to provide and the woman is to submit. The man is to provide and the woman is to submit. And then they've put our young men in the mindset that they think that as long as they are paying bills, it gives them the license to do any nonsense they want to do because they are so-called provided. I say, where is that biblical evidence in the Bible? Wives, submit to your husbands. I say, yes, what does the next sentence say? What does the next sentence say to husbands? You hear a lot of wives submit to your husband. You hear that all the time. Wives, submit to your husband. Thank you. Thank you. How many times do you hear them quote that? Good. Every podcast. Thank you. And the wives must submit. And the wives must submit. The second sentence, okay, sorry, I beg your pardon. Obviously, I didn't hear it. What I hear is the noise they make about this submission. And what frustrates me the most is that when it comes to the most critical time, the church itself is insignificant. Once the marriage has happened, when we get to the point where we are talking divorce, it is the law that decides the divorce. The pastor is insignificant. The church is insignificant. What can they do? Nothing. And when the law has taken its course, you know what you then realize? The poor divorcees are left on their own. In fact, some churches treat women like they have a cancer if they are divorced. They treat you like you are cancerous, as if there's something wrong with you. No, you are like a cancer, as if there's something wrong with you. The very church that coerced you into the marriage, the very church that misled you into the marriage, when it matters the most, will turn its back on. If you ask me to name the biggest risk factor in marriages, I will point to the church. I said I was going to be controversial today. Interestingly, I don't see anyone holding any stones or sticks, so I think I'll be safe for a while. But when it comes to that time, we'll cross. They're in your back. When we come to that time, we'll cross that bridge. Can I have the next slide, please? When it comes to that time, we'll cross that bridge. I want to talk to you about what a marriage is not. You see, we spoke about what a marriage is. I want to tell you about what a marriage is not. The first thing a marriage is not is a solution. Whatever problem you think you have, be it loneliness, be it poverty, be it sexual frustration, be it parental control, if you think going into a marriage will solve that problem, please, you are misleading yourself. If you run from a problem and you run into a marriage and you think that the marriage is going to solve that problem, think again. You are not the first person to have thought like that, and you will not be the last person to regret it. Marriage is not a solution to your problem. If anything, it makes your problems worse. The second thing a marriage is not is therapy. When you have your frustrations, when you have your depressions, when you have your emotional, God knows whatevers, and you marry someone thinking that they're going to help you, they're going to take care of, they're going to provide therapy. No. My people, the problem that I find happens a lot of the time is that people tend to attract who they are. The therapy you are looking for, you will likely end up marrying somebody who has an even bigger problem and needing that same therapy. Careful. Are we okay? Beautiful. There's a place for therapy, and it is not in marriage. I don't care how gifted that pastor appeared. Look, even we, the counselors. You see that, Mama G, the interesting thing is this. When we're dealing with our sisters, when we're dealing with our daughters, yeah, they look at us, they look at the advice we give, they look at the guidance we give, and they say, oh, he's such a good man, such a lovely man. And they begin to build feelings for you. Look, if there's one situation in which women make themselves most vulnerable, it's when they are dealing with counselors. Because somehow they think that because you appear to have solutions to their questions, you're such a good person. And what I keep reminding them about is this. When I'm dealing with you as a counselor, I'm using my brain. If we were to get involved in a relationship, my emotions will get involved. when the emotions kick in, trust me, this brain will shut down. If you think I'm perfect, talk to my wife for 5 minutes. She'll change your mind. Just because I counsel you correctly doesn't make me perfect. So if you think that marriage will bring you that therapy, when you can marry the world's best counselor, when they are dealing with you, it is their emotions and not their logic. How many counselors are not divorced? Some of the world's best counselors are themselves divorcees. You ask yourself why. The third thing marriage is not is ownership. Some of my brothers from certain cultures, you remember I talked about culture. They say, I married a woman. I paid her bride price. So she's mine. Abi? You hear it all the time. I paid her bride price. So she's mine. When I talk, she has to listen. When I talk, she has to follow. It might work in your place of origin, your culture of origin, because the society around you reinforces that. You migrate to the West. You see different. Literally every day on social media, you come across a video of a woman kicking out her husband. Literally every day. You find the man being kicked out of the house. And you hear the man saying, I paid her bride price. I brought her over to Europe. I paid her plane ticket. Even when she came here, I did it. Blah, 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 blah. The woman is just waiting for the police to arrive. When the police arrive, you will find out whether you own the woman or not. This country, the Western world, think again. It might be ownership where you came from. Over here, it is not. The next thing marriage is not, it's a guarantee. I don't care who blessed your marriage. I don't care who prayed over it. I don't care what spiritual authority or whatever power they claim to have. That is no guarantee of success. In fact, one of the most shocking things that are happening to people is where they've had their marriage blessed by some very powerful men of God, and their reliance is on that man of God's blessing to hold their marriage together, and then the man of God himself gets divorced. He himself gets divorced. And then what? There are no guarantees in this game. None. Marriage is not the loss of individuality. Please. Just because you marry somebody doesn't mean they cease to exist. Whatever dreams they have still remain. Whatever hopes they have still remain. Whatever interests they have still remain. Just because you marry them doesn't make them into a blank sheet. We will touch on that on a later slide. Let's not spend too much time here. Marriage is not static. It evolves. You see, the man you marry in 2026 will not be the same man in 2036. The woman you marry in 2026 will not be the same man in 2036. It evolves. People change as they go along. Just because they are perfect today doesn't guarantee that perfection will continue. It's not a static game. So, controversy alert. Marriage doesn't fix much. You can see from what we've just discussed, it doesn't fix much. And gender is not the right. I like the disappointment on your face. I like it. Yeah? I want you to think through that disappointment. It will help you when it comes to making a choice. Marriage doesn't fix much. No. I wish it did. I honestly wish it did. Because look, few people marry their enemies. How many people do you see go and marry their enemies? No, they marry the one they love, the one they want to spend forever with. They do. That's what they do. But sadly, as we've just seen, that in itself is not enough. Can I have the next slide, please? Remind me not to ask you for tea. You likely poisoned me. This is my sister. I can see the disappointment on her face. I believe I've shattered all her illusions. Marriages go through phases, right? And the societal pressure puts different pressures on marriages. The phases are not necessarily in the sequence in which I've lined them, but every marriage has these phases. You know, the honeymoon phase, where everything is exciting and sweet and everything. Then you get to the reality phase. You realize that from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., this man will just be farting. Reality begins to set in. You don't believe me? Reality begins to set in. The honeymoon phase wears off. And then people begin to adjust. You see? They begin to adjust to each other. So when you are fasting from 4 to 6, that's when she do her morning prayer. By the time she's come back, you finish your fasting. People begin to adjust. You adjust. You get to the adjustment phase. I told you, everything will look like yesterday. You begin to see it today. You will see how it fits in today. People begin to adjust. And once the adjustments come, then you find stability begins to set in. You see, we understand each other. We know each other. See? Okay. I know not to get home before a particular time, because at that time of the day, this woman is going to be in the kitchen yelling and snapping at everybody. And if I go home at that time, I'll get in the line of fire. By 6 o'clock, she's finished cooking. So I get home at 6:30. We understand each other. See? We adapted. Now we understand each other. See? Then we get to the commitment phase. And this is an interesting phase. It often comes very late. But this is where it's more intentional than emotional. It's no longer about how I feel. It's about what decision I've made. If you ask me, I wish the commitment phase would come in the beginning. Because for me, that is where the real marriage begins. That is when you consciously decide that in spite of all their shortcomings, in spite of all their issues, this is the person I've decided to make a life with. That commitment phase. And then you begin to find the growth phase. They begin to grow together because the decision has been made to be committed together. The phases don't necessarily follow down, but every marriage you come across will go through all these phases at a point in time if it lasts long enough. Can I have the next slide? So this is a question. We talk about building to last. We've just made a case about how important marriage is to building a lasting life and legacy. But the question is this: what builds a lasting marriage? For me, this is what this evening is about. I'm not going to give you a miracle. Neither am I going to give you some magic. What I'm going to share with you is what I've learned in the course of dealing with different types of couples. The new ones, the continuing ones, those thinking of splitting up, those who split up and want to reconcile. What I've learned is what I intend to share with you this evening. So right now, we've got two choices. Given everything we've heard up till now, it's either we decide we stop here and I go and drink my kombucha, or we decide we want to continue and see what it is I've got to share. Do we carry on? Do we? Do I have the permission to carry on? You're no longer disappointed in me, are you? You're not, are you? Good. So do you have your permission to carry on? Give me the next slide. So these are observations I've made over an interesting series of dealing with interesting challenges. So from this point onwards, I'm no longer Uncle Ray. I'm the cardinal. Right? So if you hear anything you don't like, blame the cardinal. Leave Uncle Ray alone. Uncle Ray is nice. Uncle Ray is nice. He's a very nice character. Yeah, it's the cardinal that's nasty. Is that okay? Give me the next slide, please. Oh, you're taking it to the end. No. So, what builds a lasting marriage? For a marriage to last, it needs to be stable. You remember we spoke about stability? Now, for marriage to be stable, it has to work for both parties. Remember, it's between two people. It has to work for both of them. If person one is getting what they wanted and person B is not, that marriage won't go far. A union works if the two parties are getting what they went into it for. You remember I described marriage as a union. It works if the parties in it are getting what they went into it for. And this is the next bit of controversy. Stability in a marriage is not the same as success. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Stability in a marriage is not the same as success. There are several people we meet. In fact, some of them are right in front of me now, who came from very stable homes in which the parties were unhappy. The mom might have been unhappy with the dad for whatever reason, but they say for the sake of the children, they stay in the marriage and they create a stable marriage. You see, it's stable, but it's not successful. They're not happy in there. They stay in there, but they're not happy in there. And this is where the trauma problem begins, because then the children of those marriages often watch the trauma and are affected by it. And so you see them coming from a so-called stable home. But when it is time for them to form their own homes, they form some very unstable homes. And you wonder, where did they learn that thing from? I tell you, they learned it from behind the curtains of that so-called stable home. It may have been stable, but it was not successful. Am I scaring someone? Success in a marriage is defined by the two people in it. It's not whether the pastor sees you and says, oh, you're a model couple. Oh, as for this couple, they are so great. They are so nice. And when every time they come to church, the husband is holding the wife's bag and her Bible. And when they sit down, the husband always pulls a chair for the wife. Oh, they are such a fantastic couple. Pastor, that couple likely fought all the way before they came into your church. When they were coming on the road, they were fighting. When they come to your church, they have to put on an appearance. So you see them, and you think they are successful. But it is not your view that determines the success. It's the two people in it. They decide whether it is successful for them or not. Stability in a marriage, however, is determined by the two people in it. So note, one is defined, the other is determined. The decisions the two people make determines the stability of the marriage. The in spite of decisions, the because of decisions. And the worrisome thing is when some people get up and say, I've been married for 35 years. 35 years of what? You may have been married for 35 years, but every month your wife is in my office. 35 years of what? So the focus is going to be on stability. My talk this evening is going to be on stability. Success, you define. Stability, I can share what I've learned. But success, you define. Can I have the next slide, please? I asked a question, and I got a lot of interesting answers from the people I dealt with. Then I did a web search. I checked online. I did a couple of searches just to see if what I had heard tallied with what was out there. The question I was asking is this: why do couples stay married? That long stability we're looking at. Why do couples do it? Or how do they do it? So we asked the men and we asked the women. The answers I've got, I summarize in order. For the men, the number one thing they valued was respect. They'll tell you, I know she doesn't love me anymore, but she still respects me. They'll stay in there. She still makes him feel significant. And so they'll stay in there. The second thing, loyalty. And this is a very strange thing with men. Men demand loyalty. It's important to them, but they seldom guarantee it. My brother is laughing. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. Men demand loyalty. Yeah, they want the woman loyal to them, but they seldom guarantee it. Third thing, they want the woman to be reliable. They say, I want her to be reliable. I know I can count on her. I want to know I can rely on her. I know she's there. She's supportive. The fourth thing, they talk about sexual. A lot of them say sexual satisfaction. That's why I put the satisfaction in brackets. But when you talk to them at length, you realize it's more about availability than satisfaction. Because trust me, sometimes some women are so frustrated in certain marriages, they lie down there like a plank of wood. The man is getting his sex, he doesn't care. We'll come back to this sex topic because that's a whole new thing, but we'll come back to it. Some of them talk about the attractiveness of the spouse. She looks great. And when I walk into rooms with her, when I walk into my business place with her, or when I walk to church with her, when I go to town with her, everyone is looking at her, and I feel good. Some men value that. They talk about having the recreational companionship. And then I find it very interesting. And then they talk about still wanting space. You see, men like their recreation. Sports, movie, music, whatever. They like their recreation. And a lot of times they say, oh, I married this woman because I find I could enjoy my recreation with her. Now, if you can't enjoy their recreation, then they want you to give them space. Once they are doing whatever it is they enjoy. Let me share something with you, my daughters and sisters. Find out what your man's recreation is. For most of our men, most of our brothers, is one sport or the other. Please, if your man happens to like football, find out the team he supports. And most importantly, understand how to read a football screen. I can give it to you free of charge. When you walk into the room and the match is on the screen, look to the top left of the screen. You see two numbers. Look at the number in front of his team's logo and look at the number in front of the other team's logo. If the number in front of the other team's logo is bigger than the number in front of his team's logo, it means his team is losing. Whatever you do, shut up and get out of that room. That's free marital advice. Absolutely free marital advice. You think it's only the men who like recreation? The women do too. When they are watching their soap, when they are watching America Got Talent, when they are watching the cookery program, whatever, please, to them, it is important. It is not nonsense. Don't go in there and change your channel. No. If you can't watch that program with them, please, shut up. Get out of the room. You thank me later. Men say they like femininity. Femininity. They want their women to be feminine. And this, for me, is always an interesting thing. Because as men keep saying they want femininity, the women are longing for masculinity. How many times have we heard the phrase, strong, independent black woman? And it's always our black sisters. I've never heard a white woman say it. It's always our black sisters. But they say they are strong, independent black women. And I say independent of who? Oh, I pay my bills, I pay my rent, and I pay for my phone bill. Okay, is that all there is? Is that all a man means to you? Is a man reduced to a source of provision? Oh yes, because when I watched the thing, they said a man is supposed to provide. So if I can provide for myself, then I don't need a man. Remember I spoke about the lie of social media? We'll see more of it as we go along. Men then say they want a home builder. Some say they want to feel safe. Talk about status. But status is interesting. Status ranked number 10 with the men. But with the women, however, status was number 1. They want to be married. Just that status of being married is the most important thing to them. Doesn't matter what chaos comes with it. Just the status of being married. The next thing they say they like are women, our sisters, they say they like security. All the types of security, financial security. They want to feel physically safe. They just want to feel secure. Then they talk about trust and honesty. But the more I scratch the surface of that, I had a lot of questions. You see, I've got double question marks after honesty. One of the means of ensuring you live long is to be careful what kind of honesty you deal with. I said I was going to be controversial tonight. My brother, if she asks you whether the other girl walking down there has a nice ass, you haven't seen that ass. No, you haven't seen it. What ass? You ain't seen it. I know you saw it. And I know you thought that was a hell of an ass. But if she asks you, you ain't seen that ass. You understand? It don't exist. You ain't seen it. You ain't seen it. They say they want honesty. Deal with honesty with wisdom. They say they like supportive spouses. They say they want a spouse, someone who's supportive, emotionally supportive, blah, blah. They talk about fatherhood for their children. A lot of them say they want some man who's going to be a good father. But sometimes when you scratch the surface, you realize that they themselves are still looking for a father figure. They want you not just to be a father to their children, they want you to be a father to them. Certain things they didn't get from their father, they are looking for from you. They want a father figure. But that's what they'll tell you they want it for their children. But a lot of the time, they want it for themselves as well. And then they talk about sexual satisfaction. I did say we're going to come back to say, look, let me talk about this sex business. Because for me, it's a big problem now. This thing of sexual satisfaction, it's a big problem. You see, the church has got to the point where it's beginning to address sex from the pulpit and from messages. And they think they are doing a good job. No, they aren't. Do you know why? Because where this sex game has got to, the church has no idea. None. None. Bishop, I put you on the spot. One time I was talking to my brother Bishop, and I told him that Sheffield is the dogging capital of the UK. He asked me what dogging was. He never heard the term. He never heard the term. You never heard about it? Oh my God.
So you won't have been that you heard it. It's only
My people, where this sex game has got to, the church has no clue. Absolutely no clue. There are so many avenues of sexual exploration available to people now that by the time they come to the marital equation, the sexual complications they have, you don't have an idea. Look, one Gen Z girl, she was talking to me. She's like my daughter, so she tells me plenty things, yeah? And she always likes to tell me I'm out of touch. And she likes to prove to me I'm out of touch. One time we were talking, and the issue of sex positions came up. And then she spoke about some position called the helicopter. And I was thinking, helicopter? What on earth is this helicopter? Like, I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't fathom it. I couldn't fathom it. And we were on Zoom. So she said she was going to show me, yeah? So I said, okay, show me how that position is like. And this girl did the demo. I looked at that position. The only thought in my mind was that if you are in a country where you don't have the NHS, don't try that position. Now die, you go die. Now die, you go die. I'm telling you, you go die. There are all kinds of gyrations and positionings happening that our young ones are being exposed to, our people are being exposed to. You know, and after they've got all this exposure, they then come and they'll sit in our congregations, nice, quiet, and calm. And when they come, they don't want bad boys like me. No, they want boys like your son. You see your son that you've taught to be straight and narrow and good and everything. He's the type of husband they want. He doesn't even know what missionary is. Somebody knows helicopter. The person wants to marry him. And then they want satisfaction. How is he going to satisfy him? How is he going to satisfy that one? How is that going to happen? Look, Mama G, one young girl who I saw on Snapchat, she was talking about a sex position called snake in the monkey shadow. I didn't know what to think because to the best of my knowledge, Snake in the Monkey Shadow was some martial arts movie with Jackie Chan doing all kinds of things. So how Snake in the Monkey Shadow becomes a sex position? I don't know. This girl was barely 20 years old. She knows Snake in the Monkey Shadow. By the time she's 30, wanting to settle, God knows what she knows. How do you satisfy such a person? You think it's only the girls? Think again. Our young men, they are walking around in order to keep pace. They are drinking certain concoctions Satan himself cannot distill. If you take that concoction to Satan's laboratory, he himself cannot distill it. They are drinking those concoctions, staying on top of women for 4 or 5 hours straight, like no break. Like they are drinking these things. You're a young woman. You think you know snake in a monkey shadow. You will meet a young man who has drunk a Chedian Pombites, and who he knows his style is enter the dragon. That day, you realize that when a dragon meets a snake, it is a snake that dies. This is a harsh reality out there. This is a harsh reality out there. A minister will come and say, sex is holy within marriage and the bed is undefiled. Pastor, hey, the people in your congregation, if you knew the things they knew, you yourself, you go for deliverance. You yourself, you go for deliverance. That is a harsh reality. So they get married, and they still sneak back and go and be getting their thing from the corner somewhere. Snake shops. They still be sneaking down, they're getting their thing from the corner somewhere. Are they? But that is a harsh reality. Be ready to begin to pray for your children. I'm telling you, you Gen Zs, you start praying now. Because what you guys are seeing, you wonder what your children will be dealing with. You start praying now. Those of you who have the children who are already married, start praying for them. When your son gets married, and within 3 months, he's asking you about different types of blood tonic, start praying for him. Start praying for him. You think it's only the boys. Hey, when you go and visit your daughters, and in a country where hot water comes out of taps, you see bucket and kettle in that bedroom, in that bathroom there, start praying for her. All kinds of things are going on. Look, give me the next slide. Give me the next slide. What 3 common elements do I find in marriages that last? I find these 3 things. I find friendship, partnership, and loves. Types of love. We'll come to it. But these 3 elements I find exist in every marriage that has lasted. Friendship, loves, partnership. Give me the next slide. Let's begin to look at the definitions. When we talk about friendship, we're talking about a sometimes chosen mutual relationship between people. Yeah? Friendship is built on trust, care, shared understanding, and values. Friendship. Friendship plays a factor in marriage. They tell you to marry your friend. There's a very good reason why they tell you that. But friendship plays a factor in marriage. When we talk about partnership, we're looking at a selective relationship where 2 or more people, they work together towards a shared goal. Partnership requires shared responsibilities and benefits. Please note the difference. Friendship is often not chosen. It's sometimes chosen. Partnership is selective. You choose who your partnership is. Who you partner with. It's a choice you make. And once you make that choice, you're sharing the responsibilities and you're sharing the benefits. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you are sharing responsibilities and there are no benefits, you are not a partner, you are an employee. Point blank period. Point blank period. And then we talk about love. Usually when I talk to Christians, when it comes to love, they want to do this 1 Corinthians 13 thing. Pack that for me, please. A deep emotional bond and commitment between people. Now, when it comes to love, it's about evidence. It's not the telling, it's the showing. I'll say that again. It's not the telling, it's the show, it's the evidencing. I tell my daughters every time, a man with a hard-on will promise you anything. If your choice or your decision is based on what a man is telling you when he's got a hard-on, don't believe him. He's lying. Brothers, I'm sorry, I'm giving away our secrets, but that is a blunt truth I'll tell you, my daughters. These three definitions are absolutely key. And when they come into place in a marriage, you find that they are nuanced. Let's begin to pick them one after the other. Next slide, please. How does a friendship work in a marriage? When I see a friendship in a marriage that lasts, I see these factors. First, I see values. Yeah? I see that they share values. They could come from different religious and cultural backgrounds, but you find that the values are common. What one person stands for, the other is willing to stand for. They share that common set of values. Their morality value. The values are common. You find that they have fun together, fun sharing. It's not easy maintaining the fun part of a friendship, particularly in a marriage, when duties begin to impact, when children are on the scene, and then all kinds of things happen. But you find that when the marriage lasts, the couple somehow have found their way to keep the fun going. They find ways and means of keeping the fun going. Next, you see appreciation. They actually appreciate each other. Something you assume is a duty, but they still appreciate you for doing it. You see adaptability. We spoke about the phase of marriage when people begin to adapt to each other. You see the adaptability. Yeah? When I first met him, he was working in a hotel, and there was a way that job impacted him. Then he left the hotel and began to work in the civil service. There was a way that job impacted him. He left the civil service and set up his own business. There's a way that job impacted him. He left his own business and became a pastor. There's a way that impacted him. Adaptability. People adapt as they go along. Then you see trust. The way I define trust is repeated reliability over time. I know at 2 a.m. this man will go and pick the kids from school, rain or shine. I can trust him to do that. I know that this man is so determined to keep our marriage healthy that if he comes across any situation that is tempting, he will run away from it. I know that this woman is so determined to keep our marriage going that when she comes across any situation where people attempt to lure her with wrong thinking, whatever, she'll always come back and check with me. Repeated reliability over time. It takes time to build trust. And don't get me wrong, we're human. Things will break, things will go wrong. But what reinforces the trust is how we deal with the things when they break. We'll come to that more later. How am I doing for time? Still got some time to go. Good. They fight clean. And this is absolutely important. Fights will happen in a marriage. Look, siblings who grow up in the same house with the same parents, even they will fight. How much more a marriage that is made up of two strangers from two different backgrounds? You will fight. But when it comes to the fighting, ensure you fight clean. You're trying to solve a problem, not damage each other. You're trying to solve a problem, not inflict harm on each other. Once again, this is where the trauma I spoke about in the beginning comes into play. Some people come from homes and situations where if a fight happens, it doesn't stop until one person has won. And for that one person to win, somebody has to suffer some damage. The other person comes from a home where when a fight happens, the practice is we sit down, we talk things through, and we find a way forward. Then these two strangers get married, and then a fight happens. When one person is trying to de-escalate, the other person is trying to win. So the person moves into another room. This person will follow them there. They move into this place. This person will follow them there. The interesting thing about trauma is that most people, when they are responding or reacting to their trauma, are not even aware of it. They're not even aware of it. The fights will happen, but we keep the fights clean. You come across couples who say things to each other that they wouldn't even say to their colleagues at work. You're fighting your spouse, not your enemy. It's you and them against the problem, not you trying to destroy each other. What do you gain by destroying each other? What is left after you destroyed each other? Okay, so you won the fight, so what? You told him things that made him feel less of a man, so what? In today's world, the risk you run is whilst you are knocking your man down, some side chick is talking him up. Because trust me, for every person out there, somebody values them. If it is not you, it will be somebody else. And your decision is to decide whether the person that values your partner is you or somebody else. When it comes to the fight, keep them clean. They'll happen, but you keep them clean. Next thing is respect. That recognition. No belittling, no contempt, no this. Sometimes you meet some couples. You see them talk to each other. The way they talk to each other. You wonder, why are these people still married? You wonder, why are they still together? Why? Support. They consistently support each other. They show up when it matters the most. When it comes to the crunch, they are there for their partner. That's how the friendship works in a marriage. They are there for their partner. That's support. Not selective support, support where it matters the most. Because there's nothing more heartbreaking, more disappointing than coming to a point of need. And the one person you want to trust the most in this life is simply not there for you. Accountability. This is where we own up our contribution to problems. You want to understand the impact your action had on your partner. You want to acknowledge what it was you did, and you want to learn from it so you do not repeat it. Because repeated pain, repeated damage, they kill the marriage bond. And let me make this point. Intent does not negate impact. Actually, can I ask you to stop playing the organ? Is that okay? Yeah? I tell you what, come and sit down and listen to us, yeah? Please. It's very interesting when they play the organs, when you're going to make yourself, I want to make you into a good husband, yeah? Sit down, leave the organ for us. Intent does not negate impact. Just because my intentions were good doesn't mean that the pain resulting from my error will be any less. I intend to punch Pastor Safo. He gets out of the way and my fist hits Mama G. It's a mistake. But it doesn't make the pain Mama G feels any less. Just because the intention was good does not mean that it is any less painful. So acknowledge the pain. Hold yourself accountable. Learn from it. The idea is not to repeat the action that led to the pain. Because from accountability, we then come to forgiveness. This forgiveness bit is one of the most critical. If you ask me to define forgiveness, I define it as choosing not to keep punishment, resentment, revenge active after the harm has been acknowledged and addressed. This is another area where past trauma surfaces in marriages. Some people are so vengeful, they just don't know how to let things go. If you scratch them, they have to scratch you back. Unless they scratch you back, they're never satisfied. In fact, there are some people, I'm sure we've met people like that, where even when you offend them and they tell you that they have forgiven you, you are still afraid because you know that if they get the chance, they will hurt you. This will not work in a marriage. This will not work in a marriage. If you forgive something, let it go. It is worth noting that for most people, forgiveness is a process. Yeah? It's not a switch. The deeper the pain, sometimes the longer the healing process is. Where it's a process, is the two of you working together to get the healing done. But most importantly, the party that did the offending has to understand that the offended party needs time and process to heal. A lot of the time you hear them say, "Oh, I thought you said you had forgiven me. Why are you still sad? I thought you said you had forgiven me. Why are you still crying?" The intention is to forgive you, but the pain is still there. The healing of the pain takes a process. It is not a switch they can just switch off. In Turkey, they have a proverb. They say that the axe remembers. No, they say the tree remembers what the axe forgets. They say the tree will remember what the axe forgets. Forgiveness, especially when the injury is deep, is often a process. To adjust the expectations accordingly and stop to assume that just because the words forgiveness have been spoken, wounds have been healed. Am I talking to somebody?
Yes, sir.
Give me the next slide. Let's look at partnership in marriage. Now, this is an interesting thing. An interesting aspect of this marital game. When people ask me to describe partnership in marriage, I tell them there's two sides to it. The first side is choice. The second side is a conscious interdependence. What am I talking about? With choice, this is the way I break down that choice. The first step in choosing is recognition. See, I see you. You as a person, you as an individual, you as an entity. It's not about what my image of you is. It's not about what the image I want to project on you is. I see you. And in seeing you, stay with me carefully. I am building, or at the very least, I'm demonstrating potential to build. I am building. I see what you are building, or at the very least, you are demonstrating potential to build. I see that I can work with you to do two things: complete what I'm building and or support what you are building. With that, I then realized that we can decide what to build together, what we might build apart, and how we work towards these goals. Let me take it from the beginning again. First, I see you. Second, I, the one who's seeing you, myself, I'm building. I'm not static. I'm not hanging about. I'm building. I see you, and you are building. See, we're talking about a partnership here. If I am building and you are not building, when we form that partnership, it will not be a partnership, it will be a dependency. Because as I build, you depend on me. And as you depend on me, when I'm focusing on building, you begin to frustrate me. This is what happens when you have these marital unions where the partners have different levels of ambition. And you see the frustration that stems from it. Person one says, I'm okay. I started out in the back streets of Nairobi. I was hawking clothes and sundry electricals. I managed to make it into the UK. I've got myself a decent job. The council has given me a flat. As long as I pay my council rent, I can stay in my flat. If I compare myself now to the back streets of Nairobi where I came from, I've come a long way. I'm okay. Person B says, I come from the suburbs of Nairobi. My aim was to be a doctor, but I found myself in the UK and I had to select nursing. So I've become a nurse. And even as I've become a nurse, I still long to become a doctor. So I want to make the sacrifices required to take me into that next step. I'm looking at you, my partner, to support me to achieve this goal. Person B said, I'm okay. I'm happy where I'm at. Person A says, no, I want to go further. Person B says, I'm okay. I'm sharing one reason I see a lot of diasporan marriages break. This difference in ambition. They attempt to form a partnership when the ambition levels are unequal. When what one person is building is different from what the other person is building. And yet they attempt to form a partnership. How many times don't we hear stories of people coming to join their partners in the UK? Often it's a woman. All apologies, but often it's you girls who give us these problems. You come over here because the system favors you. You find yourself in a profession, be it nursing, be it teaching, be it social work. And by the time you're done, you find yourself in a position and suddenly you think the man is irrelevant and you kick him out. And when they come and talk to you, they tell you, he's not ambitious enough. I keep pushing him and he doesn't want to move. We see this happen so many times. It's literally become like a script. One partner has a level of ambition, the other partner hasn't. One partner has a level of drive, the other partner hasn't. One partner has a level of push, the other partner hasn't. Frustration sets in. Before you realize it, the partnership breaks. If we're pulling the same direction, we're likely to travel far. If I'm pulling and you are static, I'm likely to leave you behind. Am I talking to somebody?
Yes, sir.
The other side of this partnership equation is this thing I call a conscious interdependence. We are in this together. It's an interdependence. I'd like to share a story with you. This happened about 2 years ago. So this couple comes to me, yeah? And as usual, they've come to discuss finance, yeah? How to keep their finance going when they go. That's my remit. So they've come to discuss finance. And I say to the young man, look, this is your partner, this is your wife, yeah? That's the one you want to marry, yeah? Like, how about you start the conversation? Then this young man says, he sits down, looks at the young lady, And then he asks a question, what are you bringing to the table? The young lady says, what table are you talking about? Young man says, oh, the table of my life. The young lady looks at me and then looks at the young man. Says, what table are you talking about? You're 36. You have no formal qualifications. You have no formal skills. You've been in this country for over 20 years and you are still cleaning floors. What table are you talking about? And then I'm there and I'm like, God, let these people go away. You know, sometimes you pray, you want the internet to suddenly cut, you see, and then it gives you an excuse where you are so uncomfortable, you want to run. Like you're thinking, oof, this is going to be nasty. Young man is completely dumbfounded. Then he looks at me. He says, Uncle Ray, she's never spoken to me like this before. And I also said, well, I don't think you've ever asked her this question before. That's the question she asked him. That's the question she asked him. What table are you talking about? You say, what am I bringing? What table are you talking about? You ain't going nowhere. So what table are you talking about? I pulled them apart. I asked the brother, my son, where did this question come from? He says, oh, that's what, when you listen to these pastors, that's what they preach. They say when you have to go about to marry a woman, you have to ask her, what does she bring to the table? I said, oh, is that what they say? Yes. Oh, Pastor A, B, this, that, and that. That's what they preach, and that's what they picked up. And I said, okay, even if the pastor said that, surely you've got to ensure there's a table before you ask somebody what they are bringing to it, Abi. He says, yeah, I think so. I say, look, you know something? What you just heard there was the statement by which this woman is judging you. At this moment, if this woman marries you, she's settling for you. She's only coming for you because there's no other option. You are not her primary choice. You want to make yourself a primary choice, get yourself a goddamn table. Because this girl ain't seeing you for nothing. Then I go to the girl. I'm like, my daughter, why did you talk to my son like that? All the man did was ask a simple question. Why did he talk? Why did you talk to him like that? He says, Uncle Ray, I've asked this man to get an education. He hasn't. I've asked him to go into an apprenticeship. He hasn't. I found this man an opportunity to go and get a better job. He hasn't. And so I'm frustrated. And the last question I expect him to ask me is what I'm bringing to a table when he has no table. So then I asked her, why do you want to marry him then? Because it's clear he's not your choice. He's not your, no, he doesn't tick any of your boxes. You'll never respect this guy as long as you're married. So why do you want to marry?
She already has a table.
These are the kind of marriages being contracted today. You remember what I told you before about how status is important for them? They'll settle and be thinking of being frustrated. But deep down, if you gave them the choice, they'd walk away. Unless we have a conscious interdependence. You see? And that is why I said, I am building and I see you are building. If we are both not building, then that is fine. Yeah, we'll stay at the bottom of the ladder. But we can't have a situation where one of us is building and the other is not. It will derail. I don't care how many prophecies are declared on your wedding day. I don't care how many, look, it will derail. When we talk about the conscious interdependence, and they like to say that we are in this together, the question I ask them, what are we in? As we are marrying, why are we marrying? And woe betide you, my Gen Z group, yeah? Let me give you, what do you call it? Let me give you some ahead of your exam. If you ever end up in front of me and I ask you why you are marrying, don't ever tell me because you love the other partner. The thing I'll do to you, you won't like it. Don't ever tell me it's because you love the other partner. You understand why as we go along, but don't ever give me that answer. Because anyone who's giving me that answer has always regretted it. I will wipe your face clean. Why are we getting married? What are we building? Where will this marriage lead? If there's supposed to be a table, what kind of table is it? Is it your table that I'm coming to? Is it my table that you are looking at? Or is it a table we are both building together? What does it even mean? Because there's no partnership that is set without a purpose. No, I've never come across one. Mama G, have you ever come across any people setting up a partnership without a purpose for the partnership? But people do that when they want to get married. They say we are in love. Okay. After the love, what next? After the love, what next? Built to last. Have I convinced you that there's a connection to marriage? I'm sure when I started talking about marriage, a lot of you were asking, what has marriage got to do with building to last? I hope I've made you realize that now. Marriage is a key part of the building process. Unless we have two people working in tandem, we ain't going nowhere. Am I talking to someone? See, we want to talk about collaboration and not competition. About two people working together to achieve an outcome they have both agreed on. See, this is the kind of life we would want. This is the number, or these are the number of children we would prefer. This is the kind of education we want to provide for our children. This is, you see, the thinking process, the planning process. You will not necessarily get everything you want to think and plan and aim for. But at least as the plan is there, it gives you a template to work towards. So now when I come and tell you that we need to put together some money in a joint account, you understand why I'm asking you to do that, you see? But if there wasn't a plan in the first place, and I come and talk to you about a joint account, you'll be thinking, this man wants me to put money somewhere he can take the money and run away with. That's what you'll be thinking. Abi? Because we hear stories like that all the time. Don't we? We're talking about collaboration, and we're not talking about competition. Where because my husband has done this, I also want to show him I can also do this. Look, you'll be surprised to come across couples who are in such competition with each other. And sometimes these are two very remarkable people, where you realize that if these two people were to work together as a team, they'll get very far. But instead of working together as a team, they're working across purposes. There's such a vicious competition going on. You're thinking, if the two of you couldn't work together, why did you bother getting married in the first place? Why? We're talking about commitment. You see, when people talk about commitment, I want to make something clear. An event does not define commitment. Decisions do. I'll take that again. An event does not define commitment. Decisions do. What am I talking about? Just because you stood in front of an altar or in front of a pulpit and exchanged vows does not mean you are committed to each other. Your commitment to each other depends on the decisions you have made about each other. That is where the commitment is, not the event. No. Marriage doesn't start at the altar. No. The altar and the event just demonstrates to the wider public that these two strangers have decided to live together. Where it starts is in here. That decision to partner you've chosen. You see why choice is important. Arranged marriages still happen. You know, look, it's getting too tense. Let me tell you guys a funny story. I had these, the 5 of them, 5 pastors. And they were talking about one of them's member who was being put in an arranged marriage. And they were so unhappy. And they're talking about, oh, that's arranged marriages. It's demonic. It's unbiblical. They're going to put together a prayer team and they're going to pray against the marriage. And I was looking at them. And I said, Uncle Ray, aren't you going to say anything? I said, I'm confused. I said, what's confusing you? Well, Christians are talking about arranged marriage and they are against it. Shouldn't a Christian be against arranged marriage? I said, I'm confused. Well, why are you confused? Well, because when I talk to Christians and we talk about marriage, the first example of marriage they want to give me is Adam and Eve in the garden. Yes, and what is wrong with that? Well, wasn't that an arranged marriage? I said, no. God made Eve for Adam and brought Eve to him. And Adam said, this is the flesh of my flesh and the bone of my bones. God made Eve for Adam. That was not an arranged marriage. What you're saying is near blasphemy. I say, oh, please help me out here. When Adam ate the forbidden fruit and had the presence of God and went to hide himself, when God asked him whether he had eaten the forbidden fruit, what was Adam's answer? Then they'll go back and flake. What did Adam say? He said, the woman that you gave me. Did he say the woman I chose? Did he say the woman I asked for? What did he say? The woman that you gave me. The room went quiet as you are now. The room went quiet. I get a kick from some of these things, you know, where my Christian brethren are so used to belting out what they've heard on pulpits, sometimes without examining the very text from which what they've heard from the pulpit came from. I said the first example you Christians like to quote, it's an arranged marriage. See, may have been arranged. But when it came to the crunch, the two of them were punished together. And as they were punished together, they were put into a partnership. Am I talking to someone here? I'll start again. The marriage started as an arrangement. God decided Adam needed a partner. Adam didn't ask for one. But God made that choice for him. And yet when a crisis occurred, they were put into a partnership. The ground was cursed for Adam, the ground from which he would provide food for Eve. Eve was made to have feelings towards Adam. They were both clothed and sent out together. That union lasted. There's no narrative of Adam taking another wife. That union lasted through the death of Abel, through the departure of Cain, to the birth of Seth. That union lasted. What kept them together? It's partnership. Am I talking to somebody? I told you you're not going to like things you hear this evening, because I don't think you've ever heard anyone tell you this before. But I challenge you, go back and read the text. If you don't agree with anything I've said, give me a call. We'll talk it through. Just go back and read the text. What kept them together was partnership. Adam was said to have lived how long? 900 and something years, have you? How long did that man live? They gave him some long lifespan. He stuck to that same woman throughout that lifespan, have you? Let's not go too deep. But I want to talk about contribution. See, when it comes to contribution, a lot of the time, our brothers seem to assume that the only contribution that matters is financial. And this is one of the social media traps, yeah? They talk about the man pays the bills, the man pays the rent, the man got the bacon on the table. And so once he's done all that, he's entitled to sit down and watch TV, while the one does everything else, because he pays the bills. That is one of the biggest traps we have created for ourselves. Because as soon as that financial balance becomes imbalanced, your value as a man goes through the window. Because you yourself have reduced yourself to a bill payer. If the woman finds herself in a position where she can pay her own bills, what does she need you for? What does she need you for? When we're talking about provision, we're talking about qualitative things every bit as we're talking about quantitative things. We're talking about the provision of support. We're talking about the provision of guidance, the provision of leadership. We're talking about the provision of support in ways that make the woman even know that even if this man is damn flat broke, with the regards to the areas where I need support, the man is there for me. You see, it's so funny how certain cultural contexts come into play, and you see marriages that exist in the Western world, where you see that this marriage is working. Contrary to every cultural expectation, this marriage is working. You scratch the surface, you realize these two people are partners. Even though they are operating in a Western context, they've learned to adapt their culture to meet the context in which they operate in. These two people are partners. You only have to walk 5 minutes away from them. You come across another marriage that is falling apart, yet they are from the same culture. What makes the difference? This perception. This perception. Social media is not the place to learn wisdom. I'm sorry. It's a nice place to be. It's addictive. It's exciting. It's entertaining. But it's not the place to get wise. No. We're talking about communication. We're talking about communication styles. One question I always like to ask people is, what is your partner's communication style? When they want to communicate something important, how do they tend to go about it? Oh, you just talk. Oh, you just come and you say everything, and you just talk, and you just talk. I say, is that it? Well, he talks all the time. How do you differentiate between when he's really wanting to talk and when he's just talking? How do you differentiate? What changes? Does the tone of his voice change? Does the setting of the conversation change? Does he take time to actually create a setting for the conversation? Does he come to the conversation like he's thought things through? What is his communication style? What makes you think that at this point I actually need to listen carefully? What makes you make that decision? Half of the time, you find that these couples don't know how to communicate. And they come and talk to you, the third party. And you're thinking that if the two of you learned how to communicate, you actually wouldn't need me. But they've lived together for 10 years, and they haven't learned how to communicate. You're building a partnership that you want to last. Communication is key. What is their communication style? How does things work for them? We're talking about conflict management. We spoke about fighting fair in friendship, so we won't go too deep. But the point I want to re-emphasize here is this. When partners fight, they are not looking to win. They are looking for the best way forward. When partners fight and the seeking is to win, that partnership always breaks down. Put them together in a business context. When they fight and one partner wins, that partnership will break down. Like I said before, it's the two of you against the problem, not the two of you against each other. Have I convinced someone about the need for partnership in marriage? Is someone convinced? Give me the next slide, please. We're going to talk about love. Gen Z, you remember I was warning you people about love, saying don't come and tell me you're in love with each other. Because the first question I ask is, what type of love are you talking about? Are you in love with someone? Hey, are your parents here? Are your parents here? Are they here? Okay, I'll pack you. I'll come back to you later. But they say they're in love. And I ask them, what type of love are they talking about? Oh, when I see her, I just feel so excited. I say, that is Konji love now. Konji love, you can feel Konji love for anybody. You can see one Konji here, tomorrow you see another Konji. What's the big deal? What type of love are you talking about? The ancient Greeks took upon themselves to research the topic of love. They found 8 different types of definitions for love. Starting from agape, universal love, eros, passionate love, ludus, playful love, philusia, self-love, philia, deep friendship, pragma, enduring love, storge, familiar love, and marriage that lasts will go across all these areas of love. If a marriage is to last, as long as you intend it to, at different stages in that marriage, you will go across all these stages of love. And it's a scary thought that people who come to the marriage equation talking about love themselves cannot explain love. You ask them what it is, they'll quote you 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 13. And this is kind, and look, help me out. Love is kind and does not elevate itself, and The question you then ask them is that if you were to become a wife to this man, and this man ends up in a hospital bed where he soils himself on a daily basis, and you have to go and change incontinence pads every day. Is that something you're willing to do? Is that something you're willing to do? It's very easy to be in love when things are convenient, yeah? When there's no crisis. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very easy. That one, all of us are the best lovers in the world. It's very, very easy. When I started, I spoke about love requiring evidence. See, love is a verb. It's a doing word. It's what you do daily, repeatedly. That is what convinces somebody that you actually love them. And to be able to be that consistent in your dealings with someone daily, it comes from a decision-making process. See, often when people talk about love, they point to the heart, yeah? They point to the emotion and they point to the feeling. I say, na lie, oh. Na lie. This one here, it won't last. This one here, oh. Most of these young people, they're talking Konji love. You know, when you see them and, hey, they are so nice and they are so young and they wear this halter top and they got the stud in the nipple and then there's a bead on the waist, you know, and the walk is there, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they got the move, whatever. I'll give you 2 children. I'll give you 2 children. When she wears a halter top, you see stretch marks. When she tries to walk like that, because she's had to go through labor, the whole pelvis disjoint. The walk self go like advise himself. If that is what drew you, Give me the next slide, please. When we're talking about love in a lasting marriage, I want to share some points with you. How am I doing for time? Catching up there. Human beings are primarily driven by emotion. That's our primary drive. You remember I spoke earlier about the deception people fall into with their counselors, where they think that because the counselor appears to have every right answer to every right question, then the counselor is some perfect person. Nah. We're primarily driven by emotion. The reason why that counselor sounds so nice and logical, in fact, the reason why that work colleague sounds so nice and logical is because their emotions are not involved. They're just coming from their brain. The day they become your partner, the day they come into a relationship with you where their emotions are involved, you will find a completely different answer to the same questions you were asking them. There was this joke we used to have. One of my uncles told me this joke, yeah? See, young man, he's got one small room somewhere, and then he meets this young woman, and he's trying to win the young woman over. So first the young woman comes to visit him. He's holding her hand. He's taking her to the room, and they get there, and the gutter is there, and it's like, oh, mind the gutter, darling, mind the gutter. So you gently, you guide her across the gutter, yeah? And she gets across the gutter safely. Okay. You go in the room. You succeed with your evil intentions. You're coming out of the room. The young lady trips over the same gutter. And this time it's like, didn't you see the gutter? See, the same gutter they asked you to mind. Now they are saying, didn't you see the gutter? Eros changes, yeah? That sexual, emotional love, it changes. It changes. But we are primarily driven by emotion. We are seldom logical. So a lot of the time, when people are dealing with you, when people are reacting to you, they're often being driven by an emotion. And nothing triggers an emotion more than someone whose trauma has been triggered. We'll come to talk about this in further depth. But let me move on to the next point. Love in a lasting marriage is a decision. I find it's a decision. It's not an emotion. It is when the two people have decided they're going to be choosing each other continuously, daily, in situations, in context. It's a decision. I could do this, but because I've decided to spend my life with this person, I'll let that opportunity go. I could take this step, but because I've decided to spend my life with this person, I'll let that step go. It's a decision. A lot of the people who end up in front of me, when you ask them to show their wedding video to you, when they bring up their wedding video, you see them, they are so much in love. The emotion was there, and the kissing, and look, these days you see some of these wedding videos, the people kiss for like 30 minutes. Abi? Are they like, you see them, they go kiss, 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 and pastor and everybody be cheering, hey, 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 hey. You see, hallelujah. Yesterday, I told you people about how practice makes perfect. When you see a perfect kiss like that on a wedding day, that is not their first kiss. Now lie, wallahi. If you see them kissing like that, they've been doing it before. How many of you kissed that perfectly on your first day? How many of you? It is not their first kiss. Now lie, they've been doing it longest. But you see that kissing happening like that on that day, and everybody's cheering, and the hallelujahs and the whatevers. And you ask them, how long have you been married? They'll say 6 years. You mean from this long plenty kissing in 6 years, you're talking to Uncle Ray? Oh, what happened? What happened? This went away. That didn't kick in. I know it's not what most people like to hear. My sisters, you like the romance, don't you? And it's so romantic. Oh, and love is going to be so nice and so good. And now, look, you see them, even these days on Nollywood, you see them, and when they come home, they've laid some roses long like that, and there's some cake, and there's some wine, and there's some whatever, and they're waiting, and it's so romantic, so nice. Don't buy into the lies of the media. Decide you are going to choose your partner on a daily basis. Love in marriage, it will evolve, yeah? When it starts, it's hot, but in that hot, it's often shallow. What happens is that as time passes on, as the decision is made repeatedly, as the commitment is reinforced, as the collaborations happen, that love then grows deeper and it grows resilient. Accept the package, but manage the baggage. Hello, darling. Accept the package, but manage the baggage. What am I talking about? What's the difference between a package and a baggage? See, a package is when a delivery arrives, and I hold the box, and I hand you the box. You see, that's your package. Here's a delivery package. You see, that's a package. I hand you the package. But a lot of the time, what you are not seeing is the baggage behind me. See? So when you accept the package, you want to be my wife, you want to be my husband, you must learn to manage the baggage. Because sometimes even the baggage, I myself, I'm not aware I'm carrying the baggage. People come with baggage. I'm sorry, but that's the harsh truth of modern life. People come with baggage. They've been through trauma. They've been through disappointment. They've been through hardship. They've seen people come with baggage. Some of them are scarred by previous relationships. Some of them have been damaged by being abused by people come with baggage. The focus should not be on the package. The focus should be on the baggage. And this is where the foresight we spoke about yesterday comes into play. If your foresight tells you that you cannot manage the baggage, reject the package. Someone with me? I'll take that again. If your foresight tells you that you cannot manage the baggage, if the baggage from that trauma means that it only takes one small incident and the person becomes a violent, uncontrollable monster, it only takes one small incident and this person becomes some vicious. Look, years ago, I'm talking about 2009, we lost a friend. This friend cheated on his wife. Yeah? Several times. He was in a delivery business. I don't know if anyone here has ever worked in that business, but our brothers in that business, a woman is a problem. He cheated on his wife several times. This woman was the type of woman who didn't know how to forgive. This woman took glass, ground it ever so fine, and mixed it in the salt she was feeding her husband. Gradually, the man's kidneys blocked. The man died. It was at his post-mortem they found out what had happened. Woman then she ran to Ghana at the time. We don't know where she is. But I'm trying to get you to understand. Actions like this come from people who are carrying trauma. If you realize this person is so very vindictive, they don't even know how to forgive. This person is so very violent, when they flip off, I cannot handle them. If you cannot manage the baggage, reject the package, no matter how nice it looks. Because once you've got the package, trust me, the baggage is coming along. I don't care who they are, pastor or whatever. How many times haven't we seen pastors' marriages break up and you talk to the pastor's wife and realize the pastor was physically abusive? Yet you see the pastor in church every time. You think he's the one that cleans the window for the Holy Spirit before the Holy Spirit looks out of heaven. You think he's that good. And yet you realize that somewhere in there's a damaged character who resorts to violence when things don't go his way. If you can't handle the baggage, reject the package. Am I talking to someone? Beware what you absorb from social media. I've said enough about social media. I'm not going to waste too much time on it. But please beware what you absorb. Look, there's some good stuff on social media. Don't get me wrong. There's some good stuff on there. But you need the discernment to separate what is good advice from what is junk, what is poison. Because a lot of the time, you only have to look at the lives of the people doing the posting to realize that if they knew anything worth knowing, their own lives would have been different. If they knew anything worth knowing, their own lives would have been different. We spoke about communication. We're talking about how progressive it is, yeah? Sometimes communication is not perfect from day one, but people learn as they go along. But whether you do it on day one or you do it as you go along, learn to do it. Because communication is everything. Because if we're not communicating well enough, we're not an effective partnership. If we're not an effective partnership, it won't be long. It won't be long before we get derailed. Let me make this point. You won't like your spouse all the time. You won't like them all the time. But just because they're pissing you off by farting at dawn doesn't mean there's grounds for divorce. Just because they squeeze the toothpaste in the middle instead of from the bottom. They will do things that will irritate you. They are human. And you will do things that will irritate them as well. You are also human. And this is where the communication comes in. This is where the perspective comes in. Small things matter, both ways. The appreciation, the kindnesses, the favors, the gifts, they help to build. But then the insults, the degradation, the contempt, the resentment, they kill it. Small things matter. Love or marriages rarely dies in an instant. It's always a gradual erosion. See? Gradual erosion. And the small things matter. So learn to forgive. Because nothing kills love more than resent. How do you love somebody you resent? Have you ever thought about it? It's not possible. It's not possible. Sometimes you talk to couples, they have a forensic history of each other's wrongs. They can tell you in 2026 what the man did 2011. Sometimes the man himself has forgotten what he did. They will tell you detail. They're holding on to the... And when they are telling you as if the thing happened now. You see, the pain is still there. The resentment is still there. No, such a thing, it gnaws away. It eats away at things. Am I talking to someone? Give me the next slide. So, we want to look at all three in tandem. We looked at friendship, partnership, and the different types of love, right? We want to bring all three together. Mind you, we're still talking to the cardinal. Uncle hasn't come back yet. It's still this cardinal. Yeah? This nasty man. Right. Let's see the next slide. Watch the arrows and the bar. You see there's an interaction between friendship and love. There's an interaction between partnership and love. But between friendship and partnership, there's a bar. If we're talking about building a marriage that will last, where we want love to be the foundation, friendship can help us build love. Partnership can help us build love. But if you think friendship and partnership on their own are enough, you're missing the point. I'll start again. Friendship can help us build love. Partnership can help us build love. But if you think friendship and partnership on their own are enough, you're missing the point. Because somewhere in that equation, love has to be in there. Give me the next slide. And at this stage, I'm talking to Christians, right? Now, anyone else who's hearing me who comes from any other religious denominations to commitment, put this in your context. But when we've dealt with love, when we've dealt with friendship, when we've dealt with partnership, we want to put God in the center of that marriage. That's what we want to put God in the center of that marriage. If you're a Muslim, put Allah. If you are whatever, put whatever God means to you. But whatever divine authority you submit and respect to, once you've established love, you've established friendship, you've established partnership, put that divine authority in the center of that relationship. Give me the next slide, please. How do you put God in the center of your marriage? We start by seeing the marriage as a covenant, with God as the witness to that covenant. See, in my tradition, years ago, tradition in my country, I was told about a tradition where when a man wants to get married, an uncle of his or a godfather of his takes him to the house of the woman he wants to marry to ask permission from the woman's family to marry her. The role of that man, that godfather, that guy, that lead, is to tell his son or his nephew or whoever that I have brought you into this house to marry this woman. I'm staking my reputation on you being a good husband to this woman. If you fail as a husband, you disgrace me. So everything you do, realize that my reputation is on the line. That is how I want to encourage us to see God in our marital covenant. Everything we do. See, we like to come before God to get married, don't we, as Christians? We've got to realize that everything we do is a reflection of our reputation where God is concerned. He's a witness to everything we do. Put him in that middle. The second thing is to learn to discern guidance. What do I mean by that? There'll be so many advices, so many voices around marriage. Learn to discern which one is of divine origin and which one is not. The third thing is to pray together. You see, Bishop, I find this very interesting. It is impossible to remain angry with your spouse when you have just prayed together. I've never seen it happen. I'll share a story with you guys. There was this couple I dealt with. The lady, the woman in the couple, had decided she wanted to walk away from the marriage. Her reason for walking away was because she felt the man had been a disappointment to her throughout all the 12 years they had been married. They came to see me. I tried to set up a dialogue, trying to see what I could do to fix things. This woman, in her anger, began to tell me about the problems she was having with her husband or the disappointment she felt in her husband. I'm not going to quote her verbatim, but the words she used, the language she used, the manner of her speech. I sat there, listened to this woman. When she was done, I pulled the young man aside. I said, my son, leave this woman. I know they brought you here to ask me to see what I could do to part. If a woman disrespects me like this, if a woman talks to me like this, there's no way I'm going to stay in the marriage. My son, this one, let her go. We go back into the room. I tell them, look, I think where this thing has come to, the two of you, is not going to work. So what we want to do is see how we can bring this thing to a structured end. Fortunately, there are no children in between the two of you. So let's just see how we're going to bring this thing to a structured end. They all agree, and I leave them. Head home. I don't hear anything for 2 weeks. Then I get a call, and it's a woman. Hello, hello. At the back of my mind, I'm thinking she wants to ask me how she can do an online divorce petition. I mean, that's where my mind is. And she's saying, Uncle Ray, can you please help us to find a marriage counselor? What? Marriage counselor? I told you guys to call it quits. What are we talking about? You don't need a marriage counselor. Maybe you need a lawyer, but where I told you guys to go, no. I said, what's happened? Like, why are you asking for a counselor? This girl, she's a young girl, or was a young girl at the time. She begins to tell me a story. So apparently after I left, they went to the kitchen. Well, the young man took the lead to the kitchen, was going to make himself some tea. Woman followed up. They met in the kitchen, and whilst they were there and deciding to do what Uncle Ray has suggested, they decided, okay, we met and we committed our marriage to God. So if we're going to end, let's go before God in prayer. So they decided to hold hands and decide to pray there in the kitchen. And then they're thinking, what do we pray about? Yeah, Uncle Ray told us to go our separate ways. What do we pray about? The man was still angry and still hurt about what the woman had told him earlier. So in his anger, he tells her, well, why don't you tell God what you just told me when Uncle Ray was here? The woman says, okay. So while they are holding hands, they go into prayer, and the woman tells God all the frustrations and all the anger she's got with her husband. She tells God that in that prayer moment. Husband also decides to reply in prayer. Also tells God all the pain, all the disappointment, all the hurt the woman has invoked on him. They do that prayer, and they say, God, we've decided we're going to go our separate ways. Please bless this separation of the union. Amen, amen, amen. They come back to the living room. They both head upstairs. They're still sharing the same bed. Woman says, Uncle Ray, in the middle of the night, we woke up. Something drew us together. We had the kind of sex we had never had before. We were angry with each other, so we decided to take out the anger on each other in the bed. I don't know what position they did, but they said we took out the anger in the sex in there. Then they say they were so tired afterwards that they both fell asleep. They wake up the next morning and they decide last night's prayer was just stupidity. Let's pray again. And this time round, somehow, they have a very different kind of prayer. But that prayer leads them to decide to think, look, are things really that bad? Is there a way we ourselves can begin to fix things? That day when they were calling me after 2 weeks, they had gone away together. They were in some getaway. And whilst they were at the getaway, they planned that, well, when we return, we need to find a counselor to help us build our way back. People, as I speak to you, that couple are still together. I thought that marriage should have ended. In my opinion, they were gone. I told them, guys, go your separate ways. That act of praying together turned things around. Praying together brings you before God as a unit. It brings you before God in the openness of your heart, in the openness of your mind, in the honesty of your spirit. You want your marriage to last? Build one habit. Pray together. It will take you through things you never imagined possible. Am I talking to someone?
Yes, sir.
Give me the next slide, please. So what lessons do we take away? I'm running out of time, aren't I? It's half, 9:15. What lessons do we take away? This is a two-part stage. I'm going to go through this very quickly. First thing I'm going to advise, analyze your intentions. Why are you getting into this marriage business? Why? And you just saw why just telling me you love each other is not sufficient. There has to be a concrete, well thought out plan, decision behind this marriage business. Why are we getting in? And please, whatever you do, don't idolize marriage. I know it's nice to be married. It's great to have that status. But status with pain, status with abuse is just an exercise to an early grave. Don't idolize it. Don't go into it just because you think you have to go into it or because you think you need a status. The question is, why are we getting married? Next thing, like we just saw, love alone is not enough. Love on its own will not take you far. Your values and belief systems are what will take you through the tough times. Third, there's nothing like a perfect spouse. In fact, if at the counseling stage, I ask somebody, why are you marrying this person? And he says, oh, he's just so perfect, I get worried. The perfection doesn't exist. No. There's nothing like a perfect spouse. The aim is to be a good spouse to the person you chose to marry. Like we said, human beings were primarily driven by emotion. We said people are a package. Yeah? You marry their upbringing, their habits, their patterns, and the unhealed trauma they know. In fact, if you are marrying an African, add family. When you marry Africans, you don't marry individuals, you marry the family. You marry the person, and there's a mother-in-law like that. And there's a sister-in-law like that. There's an uncle like that. You don't marry the individual, you marry the family. People will change as they progress. The aim in marriage is to grow together. Like I said, people do not remain static. We are not the same people we were 10 years ago. We will not be the same people 10 years from now. But the aim is to grow together. Now, culture needs to be balanced with reality. Certain cultural norms might exist in your country of origin, but if migration brings you to another country with new regulations, you want to adapt to that country. Have a goal for your marriage. Don't just walk into it. Have a goal for your marriage. What do we want the marriage to look like in 10 years' time? In 20 years' time, where do we want to be as a couple? In 30 years, where do we want to be as a couple? Having a goal helps you keep direction, manage change in the marriage. This marriage game is a continuous work in plan. There's no guarantees there. Just because you solve one problem doesn't mean that the work is done. It's a work in progress, continuous one. There are no guarantees in this game. Can I have the next slide, please? Choose each other daily. Look, there'll be temptations. There'll be challenges. There'll be difficulties. But choose each other daily. I spoke about how important it is for it to be a decision. Choose each other daily. Understand provision. We spoke about provision, where there's qualitative, there's quantitative, where it's physical, emotional, support. Provision is not just monetary. Understand that. Just don't think because you're bringing home the bacon, your job as a provider is done. There's more to provision than just the material. Finances will always matter. You need to learn to talk about money as a couple. You need to be honest as a couple. One of the things I tell people, particularly in my area of financial counseling, I point out to them, if you cannot trust this person with your money, don't marry them. I mean, why are you marrying them? You can't trust a person enough to be financially honest with them. Why are you marrying them? You are only going to introduce hide and seek and koni into the... Why are you marrying them? We need to be honest and truthful where money comes in. Small things matter, and they matter both ways. Like I said, some small things build up, other small things erode. Pay attention to those things. We need to learn each other's love language and try to speak it. Yesterday, I spoke about courtship strategies. If you remember, what got them to marry you is often how you keep them married to you. If you were minding the gutter before you were crossing it, keep minding the gutter even after your business is done. What got them is what keeps them. Often people get married because they want more of what was offered in the first place. Just because you win them doesn't mean your job is done. Learn to fight fair and clean. We spoke about this thing, about conflict management in the marital situation. Learn who the real enemy is. Learn who it is you're fighting and why you're fighting. You disagree with value and respect. Communicate. This is how you retain your friendship and partnership. You communicate. We spoke about communication. Now, this last bit, I've got in capital letters. What are the Gen Zs? I say choose your reference group with care. Then what? Help me out, Gen Z. What's that saying? Can you say that again for me? You can put whatever you like in that dot. Normally it's an F word, but you can put whatever you like in that dot. I have this in bold for a particular reason. Often when people get married, they still choose certain reference groups. Yeah? You've got to choose your reference group with care. When you have a goal for your marriage, you have a plan for your marriage, you choose a reference group that supports that goal, that supports that plan. Once you have that reference group selected, please shut the whatever up. Talking to people with empty brains about your marriage will only derail you. People don't know how to shut up when it comes to marriage. They go and talk about things that... Look, sometimes you see marriages that fell apart because the reference group, the source of advice, the source of guidance was some empty-headed, I don't even know how to describe them. And you ask them, how did these people become your reference? How did they even become reference? You choose them with care. Once you've got them chosen, you shut the hallelujah up. Because not everybody should be a party to your marital conversation. Not everybody. You shut the hallelujah up. Many a marriage has derailed just because the wrong voices were listened to. But the wrong voice cannot speak to you unless you went and spoke to them first. So the preventive point is to shut the hallelujah up. Am I talking to someone?
Yes, sir.
I can't tell you how important this thing is. I can't tell you how important this thing is. In the 90s, there was this couple. They were here. A cousin came from Ghana to come and visit them over here. When the cousin came over here, she saw how her cousin was living with her husband. She started telling her cousin things. Hey, your husband goes to work 12 hours a day and only comes back late. Hey, me, I won't tolerate that. Oh. Hey, my husband, he leaves at 8. By 4 o'clock, he's home. And when I call him every time, he tells me where he is. Hey, your husband, he's asking you for help to pay the bills. Hey, me, my husband, no. Hey, when he's going out, he puts money on the table like that, pump, and it's for me to pay the bills and decide what I want to do with. She created such an illusion in this girl's mind. This girl decided to leave the system and go back to Ghana. When she went back to Ghana, the truth she found out about her cousin's marriage. See, before she left, she spoke to me. I told her, don't go. This married picture this cousin of yours is painting, it doesn't sound genuine to me. Don't go. She didn't listen. She went. She came back. The first conversation she had with me, she said, Uncle Ray, I'm bringing your stone back to you. When she went to Ghana, that cousin, married to a customs officer, was one of the most miserable married women she came across. Look, the man would go on trek. Sometimes for 2 weeks, she doesn't know where her husband is. This same person who told you that I won't agree to my husband working 12 hours, the man would leave the house for 2 weeks. She wouldn't know where the husband is. The man would go on trek, and it is his luggage that will come home. The man himself is nowhere to be found. She will ask questions among his colleagues. He's taken off with some woman to some girlfriend somewhere. We know these customs officers now. with all the money, he's taking off somewhere. This was a person who came and told our friend here about things that she wouldn't tolerate, when her actual marriage was worse than what was going in here. Choose your reference group with care and shut the hallelujah up. Am I talking to someone?
Yes, sir.
Give me the next slide, please. I'm checking out. Oh, this is not the entirety of the slide. I think you need to make the slide smaller. I'm checking out because it's gone quite a while. I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice. Give me that slide back, please. Thank you. When it comes to marriage, people are always in 4 stages. You're either in prospect, you're either in a marriage, you're either thinking of ending your marriage, or in some cases, your marriage has already ended. Now, the cardinal needs to check out for Uncle Ray to come back in. But this is what the cardinal wants to leave you with. Everything you've heard this evening, if you are in prospect, if you are thinking of getting married, if you are at the start of the marital journey, please reflect on these things. The aim is not to scare you. The aim is to teach you the hard realities. Before I started, I told you we're coming from the trenches. These are the harsh realities of the situation you're walking into. The aim is not to scare you. The aim is to equip you. The aim is to open your eyes to the realities of what you're going to walk into. If you are in a marriage, the aim is to open your eyes to what you could be doing better and the things you need to stop doing. See, sometimes the best progress in life is made when we do the things we know we should do and don't do the things we know we should not do. It's easier said than done, but sometimes that is the best formula. If you're thinking of ending your marriage, the aim is to have you reflecting on what you've heard over here. Take a look. We spoke about accountability. Are there things you've done that have actually brought you to this state that can be reversed? Are there things that can be salvaged? Or indeed, is your marriage not worth being in? Like we said, don't idolize it. But that is the aim, putting more light on the decision you're about to make. If your marriage has already ended, are there things you heard today that could have saved it? Are there things you've heard today that will help you make a different decision next time round? Because a lot of the times we want to go back for round 2. But we're going back round 2, we want to go with our eyes open, not shut. And is there something you could share? If there's something you could share from your experiences, like I said from the beginning, everything I know someone taught me. If there's something you could share, give us a buzz. Talk to me. What I learned from you might enable me help another couple. However, if out of all these 4 places, you don't know where you fit, there's only one thing I can do for you. Come talk to the bishop of the house. He's the only one that can help you. God bless you. Love you all.
What do we say?
We hope you enjoyed our Grace Impact conference. Make sure to join us again tomorrow and receive what the Lord has in store for you.